Ciao Bella, welcome to L'Uncinetto. I'm Christina and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. If you're new, welcome in. If you're returning, welcome back. No matter how long you've been here, I always appreciate your time. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and click the bell, the little filled in one that gives you all the notifications for anything that I put on my channel. Today we are going to answer a question that I get a lot in my crochet classes and for people who are just starting their yarn journey. What do you mean when you say skein, hank, donut? What are those things, right? So I thought that I would come on and share that. I know many people in the yarny community already know what those things are, but one of the things that I like to do on my channel is share for people who maybe just finding out about yarn, whether it's knit, crochet, weaving, whatever it is, right? If you're just finding out about fiber arts, this would be a good video for you to watch. And if you already know, if you watch anyway, maybe you'll get to see some pretty yarn. Who knows? All right, so there are multiple ways that yarn is sold. One of the most popular ones is a skein or skein, depending on where you are in the world. Maybe there's a different word for it, but there's a debate in the US whether it's skein or skein, right? It doesn't matter. You also have a cake, you have a donut, and you have a hank. Those are the four most popular ways that you see it. And depending on what kind of yarn you have will depend on the number of varieties that you can find your yarn in. Okay, so we're going to start with wool, right? Just like sheep's wool, right? Or any other type of animal fiber. Typically, if it's hand dyed, okay, it tends to come in hank form. Okay, and the reason why it's called a hank is because you hank up the yarn. It's a verb, because when you hand dye yarn, I do not dye my own yarn, but when you hand dye yarn, right, it comes in this sort of situation when you're dyeing it. And you dyers, I watch a lot of dyeing videos, excuse me, and they'll tie it up to kind of keep it bunched together so it doesn't like get all over the pan, and you get the colors where you want them to go pretty much. And so they're tied at different points, and when you wind up the yarn to make it into a cake or something like that, you can cut those ties off and wind it. You can wind it into a ball, you can wind it into a cake, however you choose to. But when you hank it, so it comes in this form when they dye it, and then they dry it out, and then you twist on both ends, right, at the same time until you feel it get to where it's going to kind of twist up on itself, right? And that's called hanking up the yarn. And then you put one loop, see where my finger is in this loop, you take that and shove it through the other one. Now it doesn't look as pretty as the where it was when I had it, but a lot of times these labels, they don't put them on after they're glued. They'll wrap them around the yarn and they're either self-sticking or glued or taped or something, and they go back on. Now I'm actually going to use this because I've been caking up some yarn for a project that I did a video on before, so I'm not going to put this back in here. I'm just going to put it over there, and I can actually, I might need this again for a minute for another demonstration, but I'm not going to put the label back on it because I'm going to use it. So a lot of hand-dyed yarn is done in this way. Many of the animal fibers are done in this way. I have some other, this is just Hobby Lobby yarn. That is the authentic hand-dyed yarn. It's been sitting here. I rearrange, and then I don't have room for things because I've rearranged, and then I put it in a bag or something. so that it's just not sitting on the floor. Another thing that will come in hanks, right? This is small batch dyed. Usually, this is cotton. This is organic cotton, but cotton can come in hanks as well. I also have this. I just got this in a yarn swap. I'm so excited. I'm still trying to think of what I want to use it for. This is Dawn Aaron's hand dyed cotton yarn, right? And it comes in a hank. So you can get it in, hanks can come in lots of different types of yarn. The one that I haven't seen, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I don't own any of it because I don't have any hand-dyed acrylic yarn. I don't have hanks of acrylic yarn. That's not to say it doesn't exist. I know people that do hand dye acrylic yarn. I just don't have any, right? So I have cotton, I have wool that are in hanks, and that's really it, unless it's like a blend of a yarn. So it might be like wool and polyester or something like that, but it's not really that I own in acrylic, right? I don't want to say it's never done because I do know people that do hand dye acrylic yarn. So, okay, next. What do I want to do next? Let's do a donut. Okay, so I have this donut. This is something I got from it was Knitting Network. Yeah. But this is a wool polyester blend, but it's called a donut because of the way that it's wound. So I can take this out here and here, right? Because the label goes through this hole. And donuts typically have a hole in the middle, right? And so you can just have the hole straight through the middle, okay? This is probably my least favorite way to have yarn. I don't really like to leave it in this state. I also have a cotton donut because you can't really pull from these well. They collapse easy. There's no center pull, right? They just fall apart for me. If anyone has been able to successfully do it, I will take your tips. But I usually have to undo these and either wind it into a ball, which I have a video on my channel for how I make a yarn ball, or I'll make it into a cake, right? But it's really, really hard to work with yarn in this form, right? The same thing with a hank. There's no way to successfully pull this and use it without putting it into a ball or cake, okay? Now, when I say cake, what do I mean? Am I talking chocolate, vanilla, red velvet? No, I'm talking about a yarn cake, right? And it's called that because of its round shape. Like the donut is round, right? But the donut has the hole in the middle, as I showed you. But this does not have a hole in the middle. And then I have another one. This is Hobie Universe. This is acrylic and polyester, and then this is just cotton. So the fiber doesn't tend to matter when it comes to this. I was trying to see if I had any cakes of wool. I have some blends, but I don't have any strictly wool cakes. Again, that's not to say they don't exist. I just don't have any. These are really, really good if you can center pull them, right? You can center pull, and some of the yarn actually has a pull ready for you. Some do not. But excuse me. You can start this from the outside. So like if I were to take this label off, I could find the outside thread and I could do that and just do it down this way. Or I could do from the center. Now it will eventually collapse on itself doing it that way. And they have things like yarn cozies, yarn condoms, whatever you want to call them, right? That you can set your yarn in so that when it starts to fall apart or fall in on itself, it doesn't make a huge mess, right? To where it gets tangled. It kind of stays a little bit more in place. But you have that. I have it in cotton. I have it in acrylic. I do not have it in wool. Again, wait, maybe I do. Hold on. Maybe I do. Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Is this wool? I'm still here, guys. Still here. I'm still here. I was looking for something. Let's see. Is this 100%? It is. Oh, okay. I do have it. I do have it. I lied to you all. I'm so sorry. I do have it. This is a wool cake. This came from North Carolina. I've done a video on this, the yarn shop that I went to. But this is a cake of wool. So there you go. We have wool, acrylic, I'm gonna drop it, and cotton. Okay. So the next one, and the one that you find most often in stores, well, I guess nowadays it's not too much difference, but the way that I saw my bisnonna, my mom, oh no, I have yarn in my eye, the way that they had yarn was typically, and what I'm going to show you next. The other thing that I was going to say about cakes, I just remembered. This is a really good way to store yarn because these kind of get smushed, the donuts, if you put them in like a container or something, they kind of get smushed, or they'll get smushed this way, however. And then hanks are difficult because, I mean, they'll stack on top of each other, but they will kind of they come apart more easily than a cake does. So these, I have some shelves here, and I have my cakes, but I can put them like 3 deep, depending on the size of the cake. So I can have 2 rows of cakes, or sometimes even 3 rows of cakes in a cube. And then I have my shelf here, where I have some bins and other things like that. But, excuse me, I don't have, I have cakes up at the top, and then more skeins or skeins down in the other 2. And then, of course, here, I don't have a ton of cotton cakes in here because they take up a lot of space, but most of my other cotton is here. Any cotton cakes I have are over in the cubes. But this is a really, really good way to store the yarn when you buy it this way. Now, the caveat to that is if you have a hank and you cake it up or you ball it up, you want to do it right before you're going to use it. Don't do it and then try to store it that way for a long time. So like I have 3 cakes of yarn over there for a project that I'm about to start. And then this one here, this is going to be the fourth one. I just haven't gotten around to winding it up yet. But I'm going to use those, start them in the next week, right? But I wouldn't do that if I was going to start it in the next 2 months. I would wait and then cake them up. Right? I wouldn't do it before and let them sit and sit. But if they already come in this form, that's fine. The reason why is because it'll stretch the yarn out and make the fabric probably a little bit more loose than you want it to be. And especially for things like wool and cotton, there's only so much stretch, right? They're natural fibers. There's only so much give and take they're going to do. Whereas acrylic, this is not acrylic, acrylic, which is plastic, right, is a little bit more bounce back in it over time, right? So I do like to buy the cakes of yarn, and I have many of them, but this is a good way to store. They stack easy, and you could do a lot of them. Whereas, like I said, these tend to come apart, and these tend to get squished really, really quick. All right, so let me move this over. Last but not least, we have the skein or skein. Now, I have this in multiple different fibers. So I have one in acrylic. This is 100% premium acrylic. Knit Picks doesn't exist anymore, but I have this yarn. I think I have like 4 or 5 of these that I got in a Facebook Marketplace haul. I did not get these off of Knit Picks. I never shopped or was subscribed or anything like that to Knit Picks. So, but I do have, I think I have 4 of these, and then I have some in different shades of red. I think I have 2 or 3 of those. But this is acrylic, and this is what a skein or a skein looks like. This is wool. So this I got in Vienna, but it's like a sock weight wool, and it is 100%, no I lied, it's 75% wool and 25% because it's sock yarn. So it's 25% polyamide for the stretch for socks. I'm not going to use it for socks, excuse me, because my daughter wanted it for something for one of her stuffed animals, but I do have wool in a skein or skein. And then I also have cotton. This is Hobby Lobby cotton. I do have some other like skinnier ones down here. These are like, I just pulled out a whole bunch more of this because I'm working on like baby bibs and stuff. But this is all like peaches and cream or Lily sugar and cream cottons, like the kitchen cotton. So I've made bibs and burp claws and things out of that. But they're probably like half the size in length and probably yardage as well. Well, this one has a lot of yardage, but anyway. So you can get it in multiple forms, right? There's also lots of blends, right? Yarn is like, just like this is a blend. Yarn doesn't just come in wool, cotton, and acrylic, right? These are the ones that you typically see, but I do have lots of blends. Thanks to Sam over at Mampha's Makes. She did my yarn inventory for me, and I have a page. I didn't realize how many blends I had. I remember when I was working on it with her, and I was like, yeah, we'll do a page for blends. I don't have that many. But then every time I came across something, it was like 25% this, 10% this, and something else, right? So I have a whole big page of blends. But I wanted to share with you all how all of these come, right? So you have skein or skein. You have the cake. You have the donut. Put it like that. And you have the hank. Now, all of these that are in my hand are cotton, right? So I have cotton in all kinds of forms. Like I said, I don't have acrylic hanks, but I do have acrylic in everything else. I have wool in all of these because I found a wool cake. But there are so many things that you can do with yarn, and there's so many ways that you can buy your yarn, right? Whether you get it from a big box store, whether you order it online, or whether you go to an LYS, a local yarn shop, it doesn't matter. but I wanted to come on and answer a couple of those things because it never fails when I am in a class, when I'm teaching a class, especially when I'm doing it with kids. I'll say something like, oh, if you just get a skein of yarn, and they're like, what is that? Because when I give kids yarn for classes, I give it to them in just like a scrap ball. So it's already balled up, and I give them a hook and we practice. I do not go over the different kinds of yarn and all of that with them because they don't want that. Right? Now, I could offer a class in something like that, but I typically just teach them the stitches, teach them the chain and all of that. So, but they always ask. And then I have people at work who, like, we'll be talking about yarn because they crochet or they knit, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I just got a new hank of yarn from such and such, and they're like, what's a hank? Or I'll be like, yeah, this yarn came in a donut, and it's really annoying, and they're like, what? Yarns are not donuts. So then I have to, like, show them. So I thought that you would appreciate it. Let me know, what's your favorite kind of yarn? Do you prefer wool? Do you prefer acrylic? Do you prefer cotton? What is your favorite way to get yarn? Do you like it in a skein or skein? Do you like it in a cake, a donut, a hank? Right? How do you prefer your yarn? I would love to know. You can let me know in the comments below. And until then, be well, be safe. Be the change you wish to see in the world, everyone. Ciao bella!